Shivarur with the latest on that coming to us. I also have Devankar Vadavan joining me from Rajasthan. But before I go across to our colleagues on the ground and to give us more perspective, what you're looking at are three different angles, and let me take you through one by one. And a probe has been ordered by the Indian Air Force after a MiG-21 fighter jet crashed. It led to the death, sadly, of 3 civilians. The pilot managed to come out of the fighter jet just in time, but what happened on the ground was that because of the debris falling on the civilians who were coincidentally there, it led to the loss of life. Now look at the area closely. It is not from where the incident has taken place, a very densely populated area. You can see perhaps in the neighborhood in the background that there are some civilian neighborhood, but it's largely an area of field. Rajasthan is a desert state. So where the pilot took off from, and just to give you details, it was near Suratgarh during a routine sortie that was being done today morning. The pilot managed to eject just in time. He did sustain minor injuries. But what happened because of the crash, the moment, and when I say a crash, it usually means a crash of a fighter jet can lead to an explosion. And because of the debris clearly of the aircraft, that debris falling on the civilians who were sadly at that point, at that moment there on the field, it led to the loss of life of 3 individuals. We are trying to ascertain, and in other visual you can look at the injured, those who lost their life being taken away by the Air Force personnel. Likely looks like the pilot himself and others. We'll try and get more details about what happened. The civilians, of course, the Rajasthan residents immediately jumping into action, which are the local villagers. They are at the rescue, the Indian Air Force personnel as well. Now, whether these were the pilot or other personnel, we'll try and get more details on that. But they're all escorting together those who were injured, those who have lost their life. It's not an easy decision, remember. When we talk about even a routine sortie of an Air Force aircraft, for a fighter jet pilot, it is within seconds, sometimes microseconds is their decision whether to eject, whether to maneuver the aircraft to another site. And always I can assure you that the pilot tries, that it's not a civilian area where even the crash has to take place. And it looks like a field area here, but there were civilians as well, and it has led to the loss of life of 3 people. This is Hanumangarh area in Rajasthan. The aircraft, we are being told from our initial information, took off from the Suratgarh station. So we'll try and get more details, but an inquiry has been constituted to ascertain the cause of the accident, whether there was a technical error, what sort of it was, whether it was a human error. All of that is going to be looked at. And as Shivarur was also telling us, that inquiry is very technical and very ruthless as well. Our defense editor, Abhishek Bhalla, also continues to be with us. He's joining me now for the latest. Abhishek, so we hear that an inquiry has been ordered into it, but an incident of mixed feelings. We usually want to find out the details about the pilot. We realize he's safe, he's managed to eject safely, and then we hear of the casualties on the ground. Abhishek.
Very unfortunate that there have been civilian casualties in this particular crash. Yes, a silver lining, if we can say so, is that the pilot managed to escape. But once again, Pooja, a very, very disturbing fact that another MiG-21 has gone down. And that's something that's been bothering the Indian Air Force for over a decade now, easily, if we can say so. The MiG-21s, yes, they have been an old war horse. They have shown their mettle in tough times. In fact, very recently, it was a MiG-21 which is flown by Wing Commander Abhinandan, now Group Captain Abhinandan, that took down an F-16. So there is one aspect, one argument that the MiG-21s are still good enough and the pilots flying them are top class. But every time a disturbing fact like this comes to the fore, one, is forced to ask the question, why is this fighter aircraft still part of the Indian Air Force's fleet? Yes, it will be completely done away with in years to come. That procedure is on. Gradually they'll be phased out. But really, the MiG-21 has perhaps lived its age, and that's something which is debated every time a crash like this takes place.
Abhishek, because every time a MiG-21 crashes, whether it's a trainer aircraft or a fighter jet like this, the first response usually of any citizen would be, oh, another crash of the MiG-21. And like you're also correctly mentioning, that issue often comes up. Wasn't there also some reference that it could be replaced by about 2025, that the Su-30 or the LCA could be brought in? Have you heard of any development on that, or that will be a very gradual plan that often takes place in the Indian Air Force and with regard to the government?
No, the phase-out plan is there, Pooja, and yes,
Okay.
in years to come, it will be phased out. The problem that the Indian Air Force has been facing over the years is that they have not got replacements. The two
Yes.
squadrons of Rafale that came in, which are only 36 Rafales, mind you, whereas the Indian Air Force's sanctioned squadron strength is up to 42. It's come down to 30, and it will further come down in a couple of years. The problem is the larger replacement plan. 114 fighter aircraft are supposed to be inducted into the Indian Air Force, but because of the slow procedures, that's not been made possible, and that's exactly why an emergency procurement of the 36 Rafale was made. It triggered into a big political controversy, but the fact remains that the Indian Air Force certainly needs many more squadrons, not just 2 squadrons of modern fighter aircraft, and that's something that's not been happening. You can blame it on several factors. This is not the right time to sort of pin blame on any one institution or individuals.
Correct.
But yes, this introspection has been happening for far too long, and what's required is some kind of quick action, like it was done in the case of 36 Rafales. Mind you, once again, these are only 2 squadrons. The Indian Air Force is short of at least 10 to 12 squadrons. One squadron has 16 to 18 aircraft. So if you do the basic math, there are hundreds of aircraft that the Indian Air Force needs, and needs them quickly.